Besides Gloria Allred and a couple of other notable ones, I think James Safechuck and Wade Robson might be the other two or two more of the biggest sack chasing pieces of crap living in existence right now. So it looks like to me James Safechuck and Wade Robson, thanks to a judge that's taking pity on them, is most likely going to have their day in court to try to weasel some money out of the Michael Jackson estate based on a bunch of lies they concocted with that Leaving Neverland debacle that came out a couple of years ago. So I'm going to be reading this article coming from the LA Times. I think this is just absolutely disgusting and disrespectful that they are continuously going after a man that has been dead for now over 14 years to get some money when it's been proven time and time again that he didn't do what he was accused of, and y'all stories never were compatible, like at all. Even with that Leaving Neverland thing, it still didn't add up. A 3-judge panel of the California Court of Appeal has breathed new life into the child molestation cases brought by Leaving Neverland subjects Wade Robson and James Safechuck against Michael Jackson's corporation. The plaintiffs allege that MJJ Productions Incorporated staff were complicit and aided Jackson in grooming, sexual abuse, and cover-up. A tentative ruling issued Monday says the men have a legal case that can be tried with allegations that both were molested by Jackson after the pop megastar befriended them when they were children and then groomed and sexually abused each for several years until they reached puberty. Now, keep in mind, again, this man has been dead for 14 years and they're still going after him. Going back to that statement that Eddie Griffin made years ago saying that black men don't go into Hollywood one way, but they don't leave clean. This man's been dead and they're still going after him, and now it looks like it's finally going forward. And that's the scary part, because what if they actually win this case? Hopefully they don't and it doesn't go anywhere, but it's a big what if there. See, it's another smear campaign even when this man is no longer here to defend himself. And that's one of the most tackiest things anybody could do. The 35-page ruling, if made final, would potentially lead to trials in cases that have dragged on for years. Robson and Safechuck were each suing Michael Jackson's corporation separately, but the ruling suggests that their cases will be combined when they go to trial. Jackson's company lawyers argue the company had no legal duty to protect Robson or anyone else from Jackson because it had no ability to control him. The tentative ruling stated that a corporation that facilitates the sexual abuse of children by one of its employees is not excused from a duty to protect them merely because the person abusing the children solely owns the company, writing that it would be perverse to find no duty based on the corporate defendant having only one shareholder. And so we reverse the judgments entered for the corporations, the ruling reads. This is the second time an appeals court has taken steps to restore the lawsuits. Vince Finaldi, an attorney for Robson, said he would reserve comment until the final ruling was made. Safechuck, age 45, originally filed his complaint against MJJ Productions Incorporated and MJJ Ventures Incorporated in May 2014, and Robson, age 40, filed his complaint in May 2013. Their lawsuits were thrown out based on the statute of limitations, but legislative changes while their appeals were pending made their lawsuits timely, and the cases were returned to the trial court. Safechuck alleges that in the late 1980s, when he was 9 years old, he met Jackson while filming a Pepsi commercial. After they met, Jackson allegedly began writing and phoning the boy, showering him with gifts, money, and invites to dinners, shows, and vacations, even bringing him and his mother along for a 6-month tour. According to the suit, the sexual abuse began in Paris in 1988 after Jackson and MJJ Productions made all the travel arrangements and paid all the expenses. In Jackson's hotel room, he allegedly told the boy that he was going to change his life by showing him how to masturbate before demonstrating on himself and then coaching the child. The pop star told him that the sexual acts were a way of quote-unquote showing love, according to the suit, and from 1988 to 1992, Jackson allegedly sexually abused the child hundreds of times in various ways that included digital penetration and Jackson kissing his genitals, among other acts. This just doesn't even sound right. But everybody, I guess, has to go out and get a bag. That's why you got to be very careful of who you allow in your circles. The suit also claims that Jackson performed a faux marriage ceremony with the boy. According to the suit, Safechuck was repeatedly instructed to deny everything and sworn to secrecy. Safechuck claims that he was around 12. When he was around 12, Jackson began to lose interest in him in favor of a younger boy and prepared to prepare him for separation. The suit also alleges that in 1987, Robson, who was 5 years old at the time when Jackson's production company first introduced the aspiring young dancer to the Smooth Criminal singer after he'd won a dance contest. The prize was meeting Jackson, and he danced with him on stage the following night. The abuse allegedly began in 1990 when Robson was 7 and had been invited to stay at the Neverland Ranch with his family for the weekend. According to the suit, MJJ Productions helped facilitate his move from Australia to the United States in 1991, offering him employment and a place performing alongside Jackson in music videos, commercials, and photo shoots. The suit further alleges that Jackson abused Robson by fondling his penis, engaging in oral sex, and attempting, I'm gonna say AR. I'm not gonna say what the actual words are, which Robson says occurred at the Neverland Ranch in Jackson's bedroom, in the jacuzzi, the dance studio, the recording studio, and various hotels and condominiums. The abuse, or circumstances suggesting sexual abuse, was witnessed by employees of MJJ Productions Incorporated, according to the suit, which details specific instances in which a security guard witnessed Jackson putting his hand on Robson's crotch, and alleges that other employees found both Jackson's and Robson's underwear on the floor beside the bed. Further allegations state that the MJJ Productions Incorporated security staff joked that the late entertainer didn't have any girlfriends because he likes little boys, he likes little white butts, and that employees were routinely sent to buy gifts and toys for Jackson's little friends using company funds, including a credit card issued by MJJ Productions. The suit claims that MJJ Productions also implemented policies that allowed Jackson to be alone with children, and that security staff were instructed to keep their distance when Jackson had playtime, quote unquote, with children in various areas of the Neverland Ranch. The staff were also allegedly instructed to keep parents from children while the children were with Jackson, and took them on shopping or wine tasting trips to get them out of the house, and further alleged that parents were required to sleep in the guest quarters away from the main house. No one reported the abuse to authorities, according to the suit, which alleges that MJJ Productions Incorporated employees were his co-conspirators, collaborators, facilitators, and alter egos for the childhood sexual abuse alleged, and that although they were hired to create and distribute Jackson's multimedia entertainment, they actually serve dual purposes. The thinly veiled covert second purpose was to operate as a child sexual abuse operation specifically designed to locate, attract, lure, and seduce child sexual abuse victims. The suit reads, MJJ Productions Incorporated could not immediately be reached for comment. That is a very wild breakdown. And I'm gonna be honest, I have never even heard all of those details until right now. And I'm gonna say this, like I've said in the other ones, I don't believe any of it. Think about it. How many investigations have they done into Michael Jackson over the years for these allegations, and they never found anything? Like, look back what happened in 2005. They didn't find anything then. This to me just screams money grab. That's what it just screams to me and various other people. And I can take the part out of it of me being a Michael Jackson fan. I think anybody of sound mind can do the same thing and just focus on what these two right here are alleging. Now, keep in mind, they said they filed their suits in 2013 and one in 2014, and it didn't go anywhere because of statute of limitations. My thing is this: why didn't y'all say anything then? And the thing is, Wade Robson continue to be in close quarters with Michael Jackson over the years. Now, you got to ask yourself one question. If this person allegedly did all of this stuff to you like you claim when you were a child, why were you still hanging around him when you got older, like as a teenager and even as a young adult? If I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Wade Robson at the funeral? You know, the funeral they had for Michael Jackson back in 2009 at the Staples Center? Well, now what used to be called the Staples Center. And I think he used to hang around the family too, because I think it was also alleged that Wade Robson had a thing for one of the sisters. I can't think of what sister it was. It might have been Janet. But My thing is this: if this person allegedly did all of this to you, why would you go out of your way to continue to be around him? Something else that also strikes me as odd when it comes to Wade Robson in particular is, look at this article right here, or this screenshot from 2019. Wade Robson begged to be a part of Michael Jackson's Cirque du Soleil show. So in case y'all didn't know, Michael Jackson had, or maybe still currently has, a Cirque du Soleil show, and I believe it's called One. I believe that's what it's called. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's called One. And it's just basically a Cirque du Soleil. You know, if you've ever been to one before, it's basically a bunch of acrobatics. It's basically like the French circus. They just call it Cirque du Soleil, but they did it around Michael Jackson songs and a theming. Well, apparently Wade Robson had wanted to be a part of the show, either perform in it or be the director of it, and he basically got turned down to be a part of it. Now you got to think, again, going back to what I was saying, if this person allegedly did all this stuff to you, why are you trying to be attached to something that involves Michael Jackson in any capacity? Now, mind you, this Cirque du Soleil show did not pop off immediately after Michael Jackson had passed. It was a couple years down the line, probably right around the time when he filed his so-called lawsuit, which makes it even more questionable, because if it was around that time, now it's going to look like you had an axe to grind because you couldn't be a part of this show. Mind you, Wade Robson had also gone on record as saying how good of a businessman Michael Jackson is, how good he is with his kids, how nice he is to his fans and whatnot. He gave him all this praise, but it's like overnight you just flipped, and now you're saying that he did all this stuff to you. So it's not making any sense. That's why a lot of people don't believe his story. Like, no one goes through what you allegedly went to in this very detailed article that I just spent like a good 8 minutes reading, and as detailed as they claim it is, and then say all these nice things about this person. There's just no way. So many believe that when it comes to Wade Robson, he has an axe to grind, and he feels like this is his way to get back at Michael Jackson. And what better way to do it than now, because the man is dead? Because if he was alive, it would have been hard for him to do it. Now, what I found to be interesting was when I was looking through some stuff again to see what else I could find, I came across this website right here, which is called mjstory.com. And it basically is a different, it's a website that has a bunch of different things pertaining to Michael Jackson. And I came across this piece right here that was written April 11, 2021. Where it says 25 lies they told you in Leaving Neverland. But I didn't go through every last lie, but it was one in particular that stuck out as it pertained to James Safechuck, and it basically was a big hole in his story that he tried to run with, but it quickly got debunked. And it's this one right here, lie number 5, the imaginary train station. It says Safechuck alleges continuous abuse at the Neverland train station. He claims that he and Jackson used to have, I'm not gonna say it, but yet that there at the beginning of his quote unquote relationship with Jackson between November 1987 and January 1990. At the train station, there was a room upstairs, and we would have blank up there too. That happened every day. It sounds sick, but it's kind of just like when you first dating somebody and you do a lot of it. So it was very much like that. According to Safechuck, the last time he was abused was in 1992 when he turned 14 and was too old for Jackson. Weeks after Leaving Neverland aired, Safechuck's lie got exposed. The iconic train station didn't even exist in those years. The construction permits show that approval for the building happened only in September of 1993, and the building process ended in the winter of 1994, at least 4 years after the time frame of Safechuck's story. So if you can see right here, this is the aerial view of Neverland. And it says the train station wasn't built, and here's an aerial view of Neverland in 1993. And you can see there is no train station there. And I know what train station they're talking about, because it was a train station that just kind of like went around the whole ranch, or at least a good chunk of it. And it ran through this part right here. Like, I think right here, or maybe here, but it was probably in this region right here. But as you can see, there's no train. But he said that there was a train station. Okay. It's a whole bunch of other stuff there, but like I said, it's all in this website. What I'll do is I'll leave the link in the description, and y'all can go and read that whole rundown of of all the lies they told. They said it's 25 of them, but this is number 5. This is 5 of 25. So you got 4 more before it and a plethora after it. So I'll let you have at it if you decide to go and look this up. But all in all, I really boil it down to that these two just want money. That's really all it is. This is nothing but a cash grab for them. I even looked in some of the articles that are talking about this, you know, the ones that have comment sections, and they all pretty much say the same thing. This is nothing more than a money grab for them. It's saying how tacky it is of these two to go after this dead man who's been dead for 14 years. Why didn't you go after him when he was alive? Because think about it, when they filed their lawsuits, he was still already dead. 2013 and 2014, he was dead since 09. You didn't think to say, you know what? I think it's about time to go after him then. And the thing about it is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Wade Robson was one of the ones that testified in 2005 on behalf of Michael Jackson. It was him. I think Macaulay Culkin was up there, and it was somebody else. Wade Robson was on the stand and he testified in defense of Michael Jackson. You would think with all this stuff that he claimed that happened to him, he would be on the side against him, but he wasn't. But you want to know what's interesting though? You want to know who was not at that trial back in 05? James Safechuck. Yeah, because there was some inconsistencies with his story even back then that they didn't even have him on trial to even be in defense of Michael Jackson. Very interesting stuff. And to prove that James wasn't there, let's look at all the witnesses for the defense. This is a list of all the people that was on Michael Jackson's side. Macaulay Culkin, Wade Robson, Brett Barnes, George Lopez, Jay Leno, and Chris Tucker. No James Safechuck, even though he tried to say what was going on at the time, but he's nowhere on here. And to entertain it even further, let's go to the prosecution. Witnesses for the prosecution: Martin Bashir, Jason Francia, Neverland Ranch staff, June Chandler, Debbie Rowe, Gavin Arvizo, Star Arvizo, Janet Arvizo. Again, no James Safechuck. Again, why? Because his story just did not compute at all. They knew he was a little liar back then. And the crazy part about it is they had a whole liar on their stand with Wade Robson claiming that Michael Jackson was this, that, and the third, and how great of a person he is. And now fast forward to now and look at how he is. Just fake as a $3 bill in the Monopoly board game set. Now here's something even more interesting. Years later, Robson claims he lied at the 2005 trial. Years later, now that he's trying to get a bag. According to a 2014 Daily Beast article, prosecutors wanted to name Safechuck, who had provided a witness statement defending Jackson in the 1993 suit, as one of the singer's alleged victims. However, Safechuck declined to participate in the 2005 trial, and the prosecution excluded him as a potential victim. Safechuck claims later that he had lied in the statement he gave to prosecutors in the 1993 investigation. See, I'm pulling all these receipts because people, you know, like I said, it's a lot of moving parts with this thing other than just what's presented. And I want to go back as far as I possibly could with this situation. All I'm going to say is this. Hopefully it does not go the way these two want it, because that's going to be a huge precedence if it does. All I can hope is that there's nothing there again, and that they see this as nothing more as a money grab for themselves to get something out of the deal. If, in my opinion, if they really wanted something to happen to Michael Jackson, they would have did it years ago when he was alive, preferably before he died, way before he passed. But they didn't. This guy even sat on trial and then claimed to lie. My thing is this, again, going back to his allegations. Why would you get up there and lie to protect the man that you claim is this bad guy, this bad person who did all these things allegedly to you? Why would you get up there and defend him? Like, that's crazy. You would think you would be on the side of the person of that time who was making allegations against him. One would think. Or maybe you were thinking of your career at the time, because if y'all don't know, at the time, Wade, I don't know if at the time he was getting ready to or not about to, he was the host of a particular show, some show on MTV. I forgot what the name of the show was. I want to say it was America's Best Dance Crew. I gotta look it up. Okay, so it wasn't America's Best Dance Crew. I can't remember what it was, but I knew it was a dance show, but it was called the Wade Robson Project. And I believe this show was on around the time of the trial, because it definitely was in the early 2000s. I remember the show because I used to watch a couple of episodes of the show. Really wasn't my cup of tea, but it is what it is. It was something that was on, and if it was something on and there was nothing else on, it's one of the things that just kind of turned it on and watched it. But I believe this show was on around that time, so I can see why you claim to, you know, say Michael Jackson was innocent and all this stuff. You were trying to protect your investment or try to get an investment out of it. I don't know. Either way, I believe you and James Safechuck are some bold-faced liars. And the thing is, I'm not the only one that believes that. It is several other people out there that believe the same thing as well. All I hope is this: if, and that's a big if, this comes out and it works against them rather than for them, if I was Michael Jackson's estate, I would countersue them for everything that they got, all the way down to the lint and dust in their pockets. Clean them out, because this is absolutely ridiculous for you to carry this on for all these many years. For what? To quote unquote stick it to a man who's no longer here? Okay. We shall see though. I'm gonna try my best to stay on top of this story. Or if I happen to maybe fall off of, because there's so many other stories that are out there, I'm sure some of my subscribers out there will continue to keep me abreast of what is going on with this.